There is a specific moment that many of us experience, often in the quiet of our own dressing rooms, that can feel surprisingly disheartening. And it usually happens when we catch a glimpse of ourselves from the side or behind and realize that our silhouette has changed in a way we didn't authorize. You might notice that your favorite pair of jeans doesn't fill out the way it used to, or that the natural, lifted curve of your backside has started to flatten or droop, perhaps even developing a hollow appearance on the sides of the hips. It is easy and honestly quite natural to look at that change and immediately blame the number of candles on your last birthday cake, telling yourself that this is simply what happens when we get older. Or perhaps you have even tried to fix it by joining a gym or going for longer walks, only to find that despite your best efforts, nothing seems to lift or reshape that area. If that sounds familiar, I want you to take a deep breath and listen closely, because you are not imagining things, and more importantly, you have not lost the ability to change it, but the solution is likely very different from what you have been told in the past. The reality is that for the vast majority of adults over the age of 50, a flattening backside is not purely a result of muscle loss or a lack of effort, but rather a mechanical issue deep within the foundation of your body, specifically in the positioning of your pelvis. When we think about strength and shape, we often think about effort, assuming that if we just did more squats or climbed more stairs, the muscles would respond. But the human body is far more clever than that, because it prioritizes efficiency and survival over aesthetics. Your gluteal muscles, which are the largest and most powerful muscle group in your body, are designed to work only when your skeletal structure is in the correct position to support them, essentially acting like a light bulb that can only turn on if the circuit is complete. For many of us, years of modern living, sitting at desks, driving cars, or even softer sofas have caused our pelvis to subtly shift out of its neutral alignment, perhaps tilting forward slightly or rotating just a fraction of an inch to one side. When this happens, it is like flipping a circuit breaker in your home. The power is still there, but the connection is cut, meaning your brain sends a signal to your glutes to fire, but the message never quite arrives, and instead, your lower back or your thigh muscles take over the workload. This is exactly why you can go to a fitness class, do all the movements, and wake up the next day with sore legs and an aching back, but absolutely no change in your glute shape, because those muscles were never actually invited to the party. The good news is that you do not need to spend hours in a gym or lift heavy weights to fix this, because the answer lies in reconnecting that circuit and reminding your body how to stand and move with proper alignment. We are going to explore a completely different approach today, focusing on two specific, gentle movements that are designed to reset your pelvic position and wake up those dormant muscles from the inside out. This matters because when your pelvis is aligned, your glutes do not just look better, they function better, protecting your knees from pain, shielding your lower back from strain, and giving you the stability to walk on uneven ground without fear of falling. The first concept we need to understand is that your body is a master of compensation, meaning if one part isn't doing its job, another part will step in to help, which sounds nice until you realize that your lower back was never designed to do the heavy lifting that your glutes are supposed to handle. When the pelvis tilts forward, which is incredibly common as we navigate our 50s and 60s, it lengthens the glute muscles, stretching them out until they become neurologically inhibited, which is a fancy way of saying they go to sleep. You cannot strengthen a muscle that is asleep, no matter how many exercises you perform, so our first priority is not strength, but rather re-education, teaching the nervous system that it is safe and effective to use the backside again. To do this, we are going to use a movement I call the Wall Hinge with Lateral Shift, which serves as a reset button for your hips, helping to center your pelvis and specifically targeting the gluteus medius, which is the muscle on the side of the hip responsible for that round, full look and for keeping your balance when you stand on one leg. I want you to imagine your pelvis is like a bowl of water. If that bowl is tipped forward, the water spills out the front, and your abdominal muscles disengage while your lower back tightens. But if we can gently rock that bowl back into a level position, the glutes suddenly have the leverage they need to contract. To perform this reset, find a clear section of wall and stand facing away from it, stepping your feet forward about 6 to 8 inches, roughly the length of your own foot. You want your feet to be shoulder width apart, and here is a small detail that makes a massive difference. I want you to turn your toes inward just slightly, pigeon-toed, which helps to open up the back of the hips and creates space for the sacrum to move freely. Soften your knees so they are not locked, and place your hands on your hips so you can feel the bones of your pelvis. Then gently push your hips backward until your bottom lightly touches the wall behind you. This is not a squat, and you are not trying to slide down the wall. You are simply hinging at the hips, keeping your spine long and straight like a rod, and letting the wall support your weight. In this hinge position, your glutes are gently stretched, and now we add the magic ingredient, the lateral shift. Without moving your feet, I want you to slowly shift your weight specifically into your left hip, letting your pelvis glide to the left until you feel a distinct, deep activation in the side of that left hip. It is not a sharp pain, but a dull, muscular awakening, a signal that the stabilizer muscles are turning back on. Bring your hips back to the center, and then shift gently to the right, feeling the right side wake up in response. This side-to-side motion is communicating directly with your nervous system, clearing out the static caused by years of misalignment and reminding the brain where the hips are supposed to be in space. As you do this, breathe deeply and focus on the sensation of the muscle contracting, aiming for slow, deliberate movements rather than speed, perhaps doing 8 to 10 shifts on each side, feeling the connection grow stronger with every repetition. This movement alone can often alleviate that nagging tightness in the lower back because, for the first time in a long time, the glutes are accepting the load. Once we have re-established that connection and the pelvis is sitting in a more neutral, receptive position, we can move on to the second phase, which is about building functional strength and volume in the muscle tissue itself. We are going to use a movement called the wall, facing squat with calf raise, and while the name sounds technical, the movement is beautifully simple and incredibly effective for creating lift and shape. By facing the wall, we automatically correct our posture because the wall prevents us from leaning too far forward, forcing us to keep our chest up and our spine upright, which creates the perfect environment for the glutes to work. Stand facing the wall this time, with your toes about 6 inches away from the baseboard, and take a slightly wider stance than before, turning your toes out just a little bit, perhaps to 10 or 11 o'clock and 1 or 2 o'clock. Place your fingertips lightly on the wall at shoulder height for balance. Remember, this is not a balance test, so use the support to make yourself feel secure and confident. Slowly lower yourself down as if you are sitting into a chair behind you, keeping your chest lifted and your eyes on the wall in front of you. Notice how the wall prevents your knees from shooting forward, which shifts all the work backward into your hips and glutes where we want it. Go only as low as feels comfortable for your knees, but as you reach the bottom of that movement, hold it there for a brief moment and then gently lift both heels off the ground, rising up onto your toes. This heel lift does something remarkable. It engages the calves, which helps pump blood back up from the lower legs, improving circulation, but it also triggers a contraction in the pelvic floor and deep abdominal muscles, creating a cylinder of stability around your spine. Lower your heels back down with control, and then press firmly through your entire foot to stand back up to the starting position, squeezing your glutes gently at the top. This combination of squatting and calf raising integrates the entire lower body, teaching the muscles to work together as a symphony rather than solo instruments, which is exactly how we move in real life. Performing 10 to 12 of these slow, controlled repetitions will do more for your shape than 50 fast, sloppy squats because you are maintaining tension and alignment throughout the entire movement. You might feel a warmth spreading through your hips and thighs, and that is a sign that blood flow and nerve signals are being restored to areas that have been dormant. What is truly fascinating is that studies looking at the biomechanics of older adults have consistently found that when we reintroduce these kinds of integrated, balance-focused movements, the body responds rapidly, not just by building muscle fiber, but by improving the neural map in the brain, effectively remembering how to be strong. This is crucial because muscle atrophy, or the shrinking of muscles, is rarely just about aging. It is almost always about dissonance and poor mechanics, meaning that the flattening you see in the mirror is not a permanent sentence, but a reversible condition. I want you to think about these two movements not as exercise in the traditional sense, but as a daily hygiene practice for your hips, similar to brushing your teeth. You can do the wall hinge while waiting for your morning coffee to brew, or the wall facing squat before you get into bed at night, weaving them into the fabric of your day without needing to change into gym clothes or drive to a fitness center. The goal here is consistency and mindfulness, paying attention to how your weight is distributed on your feet and how your hips feel as they move, because that mindfulness is what bridges the gap between the brain and the muscle. Over time, usually within just a few weeks of consistent practice, you will likely start to notice subtle but significant changes. Perhaps your trousers feel a bit more snug in the right places, Or you notice that your silhouette in the mirror looks less vertical and more curved. But beyond the aesthetics, you will almost certainly notice a change in how you feel when you move through the world, finding that walking up a flight of stairs feels less like a struggle and more like a powered ascent, or that getting up from a low chair doesn't require a groan and a push with your hands. This journey is about reclaiming the freedom that comes with a strong, functioning body, realizing that you do not have to accept a decline in your physical capabilities just because the calendar has turned a page. It is about understanding that your body is resilient and adaptable, waiting for the right inputs to repair and rebuild itself. Regardless of whether you are 55 or 75, when you fix the root cause, the alignment and the neurological connection, you stop fighting against your own anatomy and start working with it, creating a positive feedback loop where movement feels good, so you move more, which makes you stronger, which makes movement feel even better. It is a virtuous cycle that begins with these simple, mindful adjustments. I know that starting something new can sometimes feel solitary, but I want to remind you that you are part of a vast community of people who are making the choice to age with strength and intention, refusing to settle for the narrative that decline is inevitable. I am genuinely curious to know which of these concepts resonated most with you, or perhaps you have a question about how the movements felt when you tried them for the first time. I would invite you to share your experience, simply by letting me know where in the world you are tuning in from and how you are finding the process of reconnecting with your body. Whether you are in the UK, the US, Australia, or anywhere else, we are all navigating this same journey of keeping our bodies capable and comfortable. Your experience helps others realize they are not alone in these frustrations, and your success inspires them to take action too. Remember, the mirror is just a reflection, but how you feel inside your body, the strength, the balance, the stability, is the reality that truly matters. Take these movements, make them your own, and enjoy the process of building a foundation that will